Oh, it is 6 o'clock. Wow. I was having so much fun. All right, I'm going to call this meeting to order. We're going to do a roll call, 6:01, and I'm going to have Kelly read a statement. And so we don't have to do 2 roll calls. And when you say you're here, you're going to say you're participating in an electronic meeting and where you're calling from. Kelly, add to that if there's anything I missed.
I think that sounds good, Chair. Here's the announcement for the Open Meetings Act. All boards and commissions adhere to all laws established under the Untitled Law. And in accordance with the revisions of the Open Meetings Act adopted in Senate Bill 1108, as passed on October 13th, 2020, and signed into law on October 16th, 2020. A public announcement shall be made by each member who is attending remotely that he or she is attending and stating his or her physical location. I just got a text that I was cracked up. You guys hear all of that?
You were cutting in and out. I don't know if it was just me or not.
Okay.
Anybody else having that?
Yeah.
Okay.
You cracking up.
Yeah, we couldn't get anything you were saying.
Uh-oh. Well, I'm not quite sure. It would take me a second to find some other headphones, so maybe.
You're clear now.
Okay.
Read it fast.
All right, let's try this again. All boards and commissions must adhere to all laws established under the compiled laws in accordance with the revisions of the Open Meetings Act adopted in Senate Bill 1108 as passed on October 13th, 2020 and signed into law on October 16th, 2020. A public announcement shall be made by each member who is attending that he or she is attending the meeting remotely, except for those in military service, stating his or her physical location. Still bad?
Okay, staff. We need a roll call. Bill, I think that's you.
Okay, Commissioner Stebbins,
Hi, I'm Commissioner Stebbins in Ward 1, and I am attending this meeting electronically from Flint, Michigan.
Commissioner Hardy,
Hi, good evening. I'm attending this meeting electronically from Flint, Michigan. Thank you.
Commissioner McCaskill,
Commissioner McCaskill, I'm attending this meeting from my warm home in cold Flint, Michigan.
Commissioner Yali,
Commissioner Yali from Flint, Michigan, attending the meeting from Flint, Michigan.
attending remotely, Commissioner Yali,
Remotely from Flint, Michigan, correct.
Commissioner Jordan, Commissioner Jordan, Commissioner Key,
This is Commissioner Key. I am attending this meeting remotely from my home here in Flint, Michigan.
Commissioner Ricks,
Commissioner Ricks attending remotely from Flint, Michigan.
Commissioner Telga,
Hi, this is Matt Telliga. I'm participating remotely from snowy Flint, Michigan.
Commissioner Coney,
This is Commissioner Cody, and I am attending remotely from Flint, Michigan.
Commissioner Blower,
Commissioner Blower attending remotely from my residence in Flint, Michigan.
let's end the roll call, Commissioner Telga.
Thank you. Well, let's take a moment to look over the agenda and see if we have any additions. If not, let's give it a moment and then I'll entertain a motion to approve if we don't have any additions.
Commissioner Telega, I do request a moment before the applicant speaks to review the crossover between Planning Commission and ZBA for this case.
Okay.
And it's ZBA 212251. Sorry about that. The only case before us
Right.
tonight.
It goes inferred. Anybody else? Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda with that? Not really a change. We'll just recognize you there, Commissioner Blower. Don't everybody jump in. Lauren Coney, you got a motion for us to approve the agenda?
I motion to approve.
Do I have support?
Commissioner Blower.
Support.
All right. All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. It passes unanimously. All right, we're going to go to the approval of the minutes. Let's take a second and go over the minutes. I know there's, I'll let Bill talk. He's working on the roster still. He's worked with the clerk. And I'll let him tell you about it a little bit, where he's at on getting that updated. Bill?
Yeah, I'm not muted anymore, so. It was my understanding that the planning commission rosters and the ZBA rosters, historic district rosters all went to the clerk's office. We've got back the planning commissioner roster so far, but we haven't got back the information yet for ZBA or historic district. So
What did you have to get back, terms?
terms, that's
Yeah.
correct, yeah. And I know that we had some spelling, on the roster wrong. We had to add Commissioner Yelly on the roster. So I'm hoping before next month, we'll be able to get the information and send it out.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or additions to the minutes? Jerry?
Chairman Tellico, I do have a correction I think that we need to make in the minutes from last month. Under the city attorney report section of the minutes, third paragraph down, where it says, Ms. Thompson informed the commission about the drafting zone codes approved by the planning commission will be coming before city council on Monday, 25th/2021. I think that might be a typo since there is no month called Monday. So I didn't know what went in there, Bill. I guess you and Kelly can let us know what that is.
I think it's supposed to just say Monday.
That's correct. Thank you.
Guys, I didn't cut out. What month was it supposed to be?
January.
I thought so.
Yep.
Okay, we've got that addition. Good catch, Jerry. Anything else?
Mr.
So
Chair,
that's it.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's it for me.
All right, Callie? Was you? Did somebody start to say something? Kelly, your mouth's moving, but we can't hear you. Kelly, do you have anything to add?
I think she's just,
Can you hear me now?
oh, perfect.
Okay, sorry about that. Trying to get this headphone situation figured out. So, Mr. Chair, I wanted to request a change if the commission would entertain it. Also in the city attorney report from the minutes, page 3, the first paragraph there, those citation numbers, I just wanted to clarify. The citation should be 50-183. 12-95 is right, but then 50-161. So all those that say the 4-digit, it should say 50 and then a dash.
Got it. Anybody have anything else? With those changes, can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Commissioner McCaskill, motion to approve minutes from last meeting.
Have support?
Commissioner Ricks, I second that.
Thank you, Commissioner. All those in favor, any discussion? More discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. All right, we're going to open up the public forum. Do we have anybody to speak on the public forum?
We have,
Daisy?
we have a resident, Inez Lay. I don't know.
Have her state her name and address, please. For the record.
Inez?
Yes.
Okay, you can go ahead.
I don't have anything to say. I'm just listening.
Okay. There is another opportunity if you decide you want to speak. when we present the case. You're welcome to speak. Any input you'd like there too, please.
Okay.
Anybody else, KZ?
That's all.
All right, I'm going to close the public meeting. Reports. Staff?
You have no reports, Commissioner Telga.
Anything under communications?
No communications, Commissioner
Anybody
Telga.
else? All right, I'm going to open up the public hearing, ZBA 21-2251. Sylvester Broom Empowerment Village requests a non-variance use to increase maximum allowable lot coverage from 50% to 57% at 4119 North Saginaw, PID 4636428059. I'm gonna let the applicant present, then I'm gonna open up the public hearing. I'm gonna close the public hearing, and then Commissioner Blauer is going to give us some background from Planning Commission on this. So the first thing we're gonna do is as the applicant, I hope the applicant's here to present to us, please.
Yes, this is Doug Scott from Road Professional Services Company. Basically, I have on the line Ray Embach from Aslan McLean, and I think John Aslan is also on the line there. And basically, we're coming in front of you tonight. If you recall, we've been in front of you one other time to present this plan and request a couple of variances. Honestly, we got to the Planning Commission and realized that we forgot to ask for a variance for the lot coverage on that. We exceed the lot coverage or the maximum allowable lot coverage of 50%. We're actually at like 56.5% on that. So we basically just rounded that up to 57%. And basically, again, we're coming back to you tonight to ask to for you to grant this variance to us. I can describe the project a little bit to you. If you recall, this is a athletic complex there, an indoor football stadium or a field, and several basketball courts located at the Sylvester Broom Empowerment Village complex there on Saginaw Street. I guess basically I'll stop there. If you have questions, we'd be more than happy to answer questions or share more information with you as necessary.
Okay. Before we do that, I'm going to open up the public hearing before we have any questions. So I'm going to open the public hearing, give an opportunity if there's anybody from the public that'd like to speak for or against this project. KZ, do we just have the one person on the line?
Yep.
And Inez doesn't want to speak.
Inez,
Yeah.
would you like to say anything?
No, I don't want to say anything.
Okay.
I'm just listening.
All right, thank you. Well, since we have nobody, I'm going to close the public hearing. Normally this is where I'll have the applicant would be able to counter anything or speak as anybody's had. So I'm going to open it up. Before I do that, Commissioner Blauer, and I'm going to have a question for staff and Commissioner Blauer after this opens up myself. Can you give us a little background how this with planning?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
First, can everyone hear me all right? I know I'm having some audio issues. Okay. As the applicant just stated, Doug stated, they came before ZBA for three variances that night. They were approved. They moved on to a site plan review at Planning Commission. After our review and conversations with the applicant and staff, we realized that there was an oversight, that instead of three variances coming before ZBA at the original request, there should have been a fourth tonight's request. So this is not a review of our site plan or an overturn of any of our decisions, but really going back to the original review, adding the fourth variance, looking at that before this body, because that is the responsibility of ZBA for the variance, not of Planning Commission. So Planning Commission has approved their site plan with conditions, one of the conditions being the variance approved tonight by ZBA.
Okay. I've got a question for you and staff. Either one of you can answer it or both. I'm trying to understand how this is not a self-created hardship. It's allowable up to 57%. They chose to create a design for their field house that's 50% of the lot. How is that not a self-created hardship?
I don't know if staff has anything to add. I will say, from Planning Commission's point of view, this is something that we don't see very often. I have actually never seen this large of a property on, this much of a percentage of the property. So that is unique to the kind of building that they are creating. This isn't just a building or just a apartment complex, this is a very unique situation because it is a sports complex that takes such a large space. We can debate tonight on, the merits of that. But I think it is very unique to the project being a large open field house type building versus just an apartment building or a residential complex of some sort. And if
Which
staff
is a
has
good
anything
case
else,
to support it. But I still don't understand, Bill, and I ask you directly. I just want to understand, how is this not a self-created hardship? I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm a layman. How is this not? Help me understand so I can learn more, please.
was that directed towards Bill or staff?
Anybody in staff?
I'm sorry, I was muted. I had my screen changed and it had me muted, so I couldn't get back to it, Commissioner Talga. The city ordinance has created a hardship. It is a standard. We understand that, but there are some unique circumstances with the property being that the ownership is nonprofit. Current zoning allows for nonprofit type uses, especially recreation, and the zoning code allows for community recreational services that benefit the community. And the expansion isn't to the extent where we feel like it's going to be a detriment to the community. It's going to enhance the community there. We feel like there's a need. It's next to the park. It's going to be used for recreation. Even though you might see in the staff report that the closest thing we could come to in considering what they're going to do there sometimes, because they're going to have community activities they're going to charge for, it would be maybe similar to a commercial use, but it's not a commercial use. It is a nonprofit use for recreation. And in the code 5175, it actually allows for that type of use. I'm having trouble getting back and forth, but 5175, there's a standard in there that allows for this. So the zoning allows for it, 5175 allows for it. It's not that large of an increase in the build out. The setbacks were previously allowed. There's room for parking. There's a room according to fire code for emergency ingress and egress. There should be significant parking, even offsite now. So if it was another type of use, I think it could be a detriment to the community, but because it's a recreational use, I don't believe that it's a detriment. I don't believe that the zoning coordinator or staff should look at it as a detriment to the community based on the code as restricting the use. And so it's not the, I wouldn't put the burden on the developer, the owner. And I would actually put it on the city code, not recognizing the need for recreational use and expansion of this building.
Which in my view is a strong case for us to support this. And I don't want to belabor this, but I still I don't see how it's not a self-created hardship, and that's what I was trying to understand. Again, I don't want to belabor it, but.
Matt,
you know, it's-
I have a question, and this is really for purposes of discovery. 7% is a negligible, but I'm looking at the parking spaces per, it's 200, it looks like, 800 seats. Is that in conforming with city ordinance, spaces per square foot? Or?
Plus, I think there's some off-site here too, isn't there?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
there are an off-site parking lot as well. So there's on-site and off-site parking.
Good. That answers the second question. The third question is, does this improvement, which is much needed, interfere with future planning of infill housing or community development around the site? I mean, no one has a crystal ball, but it is worth a consideration.
All right, can you flesh that out a little bit, that last part? I know what you're asking, but I'm not sure if they would know how to answer that. I don't think it'll speak to potential development around them.
Yeah, the height of the proposed building.
Which we've already passed.
Yes, we've already passed, yeah. But I'm just curious, this is for purpose of discovery, that's all. I mean, we've already established that the ordinance has been granted, variance has been granted before. I'm just curious, does this interfere with existing or future residences in any way? This quality of life, or I mean, especially if you're having a major event, you have 200 people coming in and out. How does this impact the people around that live around?
Applicant, can you speak to surrounding land use around you by any chance?
As far as surrounding land use around us, I mean, there obviously is some residential, both north and south. There's the park area to the west on that. But as far as interfering with that, you know, again, most of that is going to be traffic that would have any negative impact on it. And we are providing adequate parking spaces, although you know, it is a block away on that. So most of that would actually be on the sidewalk along Saginaw there. And right now, that whole section in between, that whole block in between is vacant down through there. So it really shouldn't have any detrimental impact on the community as far as the traffic. And, you know, obviously our intent is that it's going to be a huge attraction to an improvement to the community there by offering obviously the recreational use and opportunity for athletes to train and stuff like that there. So,
Mr. Talca, Bill Vandercook, if you don't mind.
Sure.
At the first meetings that they had for the variances, I believe if you remember, we had some pre-development meetings, and it was suggested by Suzanne Wilcox. I don't believe she's on the call right now, but that the director of Sylvester Room with Row Engineering, their partners, they do mass mailings. They do some community meetings. They ensure they come back and, you know, they see if they build support or the community, the residents there are not in support of it. They did that. They did. I think Doug could touch on that for a minute. Again,
in addition to the 300 feet around required.
That's correct. Yeah. So
Before
there was
you get
my
sorry about that. Go ahead. Before you go and ask Commissioner Yelly, and I do have a question in regards to reaching out to the residents that are directly in that area and how that's going to impact maybe their view of the park, so on and so forth. And have you guys reached out to them to make sure that, you know, that's not going to be an issue? When you say 7%, how much is 7%? Is it going 30 feet? Is it going all the way to the sidewalk? Are we talking the height? I guess you guys already proved the height, but when you extend the length of it and now you block a resident who is used to be able to look in the park and now are looking at the back of the building, has that been taken into consideration, or have you reached out to these residents?
Commissioner, I'll help you with a little bit of that. They're required to notify anybody that owns property within 300 feet. And they will mail all of them. And then Bill's let us know that they also had addressed community by mailings to address that around there. Your other question, the 57%, 50, it's a percentage of lot. I don't know if you can say it's one side or the other, because it's a percentage coverage of the property. So where the ordinance allows up to 50% coverage of a piece of property, they're at 57 because they're doing a field house there, which is adding on to it. Does that answer your question?
Not really, because adding on to it, but is it lengthwise, right? If you run into the sidewalks, do the residents know that that this building, that's great, and we all agree with that. That's awesome. But do the residents know that there's a possibility that this building now, instead of looking at trees and the park, now they're looking at the back of the building? So
you shed some light on
that can all be sent out.
Can I just interject real quick? Again,
that's
yes, they have to mail everybody, the residents, all the way around. So they have been notified, and that's what we have the public hearing for.
What of the plan? So
have the
I get that they send that out, but okay, you can go ahead and say, we're going to build this building here. And they're like, that's great. But do they know that this building could, block the view of the park that they once were able to see?
Well, but that's not what we're ruling on today, Commissioner. We're only on the percentage, the size of it. The height has already been approved.
Okay, so basically when you say 57%, which way?
I can shed some light on this.
Setback, we're talking, go ahead.
I can shed some light on this if I may. My name is John Aslan from Aslan McLean Architectural Group, 4488 West Bristol Road in Flint. I was present at the meeting that we had with the residents. And actually, I believe the city notifies people within 300 feet. We sent out thousands of emailings before we had the meeting. And we had well over, I believe, 150 people that came the day of the meeting to see what we were presenting. At that time, I had boards, I had drawings, I was there for discussion. Anyone that was interested was able to come. I showed them what we were doing. I showed them the size of the building relative to the site. We actually pointed out where the building was going to be on the site. So yes, there were many more residents that were included in the mailing that were needed to be included. So we wanted to make sure that we had immersive display of information.
Beyond what was required by statute.
Commissioner Talga, Bill Vanica, if you don't mind, to Commissioner Yelley's question. Planning and zoning was had concerns like you had, especially Suzanne Wilcox, that the developer, the nonprofit, really went into the community and got a sense of, was this something that they wanted? And explained to them, yeah, they needed a bigger building. There was some setback variances. And I believe that they went above and beyond into the community to make them aware, Commissioner Yelley. And I think that's today we have one person here from the public online. We don't have, like some meetings, we have 30, 40, or a room full.
Exactly.
We don't have that at this meeting, Commissioner Yelley. I think they went, like I said, above and beyond to make the community aware of the building, the size of the building, the type of building. And I think that the community is on board that there's a need for this type of building for the community there.
Okay, that's good to know, because we don't want to.
Go ahead, Ari has the floor, please.
Bill, can you, just to bring Commissioner Yelley up to speed, we're not can you discuss height variance versus lot variance that might help him orient himself?
Yeah, so the front yard, there was a variance on front yard closer to the roads. There was a variance on the side yards closer to the park. There's a park on the west side of the building, and so it is increased on the west side. And the ZBA gave the variances, so
right, those have been approved.
So we're Commissioner Yelley, we're discussing the setback from the street to the and granting a variance based on that, on established ordinance of setback. So that's what our focus is today.
Right. My main concern before we went and voted yes on something like this is that the residents were which I would assume that they're notified and, you know, we don't want to
And
go
this-
vote yes and stuff, and then residents are saying, why is this building blocking my
This
view
is
to the park?
the second time, because they've been granted a variance in October. And apparently there was some a snafu or a mistake in the request, and they're asking for an additional 7% of setback. And that's, my question was really, I know the community's already agreed upon this, and that's fine. I just was thinking future planning, how does this impact the land use around this improvement? That was really the discovery question, not to get too deep in the weeds.
Which is primarily empty property at this time.
Yeah.
Adjacent,
Commissioner Telica, this is Commissioner Key. May I speak?
of course.
First of all, I got a question for the applicants I want to make sure of is that we have looked at these plans and discussed this topic. This is the third meeting that we've talked about this property. Okay, the very first time we talked about it, these plans were presented to us and we had numerous conversations around the same question that Commissioner Yellen and Commissioner Kaska is talking about. And we discussed that in depth. All right. So with that, I asked the applicants, there are no dimensional changes to the buildings or the size of this plan as it was presented from us from the very first time we saw it. It's the exact same building, exact same dimensions. The only reason we're discussing it in here today is because of an oversight that happened in our planning commission where they didn't identify that the building exceeded the 50% rule for occupancy of a lot. And they did not let them know that so they could ask us for a variance the first time they came through. So now the planning commission has identified that oversight, had brought that to their attention and asked them to come back to us to get approval for a variance to be at 57% a lot versus the 50% that's in the ordinance. So all the concerns that we're talking about, we've had them in the previous two meetings and they are valid concerns and we talked our way through them and agreed that everything was okay based upon what we did. The only thing we talk about now is voting on a variance to cover the oversight from our planning commission that did not identify the 57% coverage versus the 50% that's called for from the zoning ordinance. Now, I think that's where we are. So applicants, the question I have to make sure there is no physical change to the dimensions of this building from the first time you guys presented to us back when you first came in front of us.
That's correct. There's no dimensional changes. The building is the same size. The setbacks are are exactly the same as what you had approved before on that. The dimensions are the same as we've looked at all along.
Okay, so with that gives me a little bit of leeway here to apologize to Mr. Vandercook because I chewed his leg up and down here in our conversation before.
He may or may not have called me on that.
About having to come back and look at something 3 times, okay? And we're looking at a third time here because there was an oversight on our part from our people. Whether it's the planning commission or the zoning board of appeal, it's the city people who does this stuff that we missed something. So now we got to correct it. And that's why they're back in here again the third time to get all the final approvals necessary to move this forward. I think that's the way I see it. If I'm wrong, somebody let me know. But
third time's a charm, Commissioner Key. Third time's a charm.
Commissioner Key, you could have been an attorney because you did a nice job in summary there. I want to commend you. It was exactly the understanding and it caught everybody up if they weren't. I do want to tell Commissioner Yelly, I appreciate and admire your concern for the citizens around there. And trust me, you'll know when the citizens don't like some project. Wait till you walk into a hostile chamber and we've got 40 to 100 people that all are out to get us because it's happened before. Trust me.
Yeah.
Commissioner Yelly, just to let you guys know, this is my second time on your side. I'm being caught up on all this stuff, so, so it's not like I had this information already. So just information that
No, we appreciate
I
it.
felt like was extremely important.
We understand and we appreciate it. We appreciate your participation. Does anybody else have any comments or questions with the applicants before we move this along?
Yeah, yes, Commissioner Calico, this is Commissioner Hardy, and I have a concern. I have a question. It's not what we're supposed to be dealing with on tonight, but it's been brought up twice, once by Bill and the other by Doug. And my concern is that, just for clarification, is the parking issue. It was stated that they had 200 parking spots and some off-site spots. And for clarification, I'd like to know where those 200 spots are and where are the off-site spots.
Okay, and John, and I'll have them do that, but remember, that's not the focus of what we're discussing tonight.
I
It shouldn't be
said that.
germane to
I
what our
said that in
judgment is.
I said that.
Okay, all right, you want to discuss parking, either applicant or Bill?
Yeah, Commissioner Tug, I think Commissioner Blauer could touch on that, and she also had something else she wanted to bring up about if it's appropriate with the parking, because I wasn't at the planning commission meeting, the last planning commission meeting. So,
Bill, I think you might have a follow-up to my comments, but one of the conditions of planning commission, besides this variance tonight, was a review of parking. So they have parking on site kind of in between, and maybe Doug can comment exactly, in between the kind of the old building and the field house building. And then about a block away, there is an off-site parking lot that I believe has been purchased now. Doug can maybe comment on that, or staff, and that will be additional parking as well. We did review, the walking paths between the two parking lots, the accessibility, the crosswalks. That was something that we did within our review of the site plan.
Commissioner Telga, can Doug Scott follow up? Is that okay?
That's what I was hoping he would with that.
Thank you.
Sure. Yes, and Commissioner Blauer was pretty spot on with that. Basically, we have 65 spaces at the site itself is what's going to be generated there. We are obviously losing some parking at the site because we're building the building, but we are also providing 140 spaces, basically one block south of there, right off of Saginaw Street. We're going through and creating a full parking lot there that has 140 spaces that will be available one block south of there.
Commissioner Telga, do you mind if I ask the applicant a question?
Please go ahead.
Do they own the property now? Has the property been purchased?
Yes, thank you, Bill. The property is 100% in the Sylvester Broom's possession now. At the time that we were going through there, they were working with Land Bank to obtain that property, and they hadn't fully closed on it at that point, but they have now.
John, does that answer your question or address it?
Yeah, Commissioner Telga, that was a stipulation of the planning commission.
Right, got it, picked up on that.
Miss Lay, this is all for your benefit because we want residents to understand what's going on. So this is why I kind of ask these questions, because I know a resident's on the line and I'm sure you have your own questions. So we want you to be as informed as possible.
John Hardy, does that answer your questions?
Yes, that answers my question, but we're not on parking. We're not here to deal with that. I still have some concerns about that, but we're not here to deal with that. Go on with our business.
Okay. Does anybody else have any additional questions or information to cover with the applicant?
Mr. Chair, I do have a comment to Commissioner Key's comments a moment ago, if I may. This was not, the applicant did not change their application. This was the original coverage on the lot, nor it should have been one of 4 variances that they asked for. It wasn't kind of an oversight of planning commission. We caught it in our review and we did not have the authority to grant that variance. So that's why it got kicked back to ZBA. It wasn't just an addition or a change at all to the application. It was just an oversight. It should have been 4 variances requested at that original meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner Blau. I'm still not gonna be any easier on Bill because he could have got this the first time around.
Absolutely.
It's a simple oversight, Jerry, relax.
Can I actually talk to that aspect? Because would it be appropriate
Of
as far as the
course.
staff? Okay. Because I do want to go on record with that. Bill and Suzanne and the rest of their staff worked very hard with us. I mean, we approached them from the beginning and worked hand in hand with them. And as you mentioned, I mean, it honestly was as much of an oversight on our part as it was theirs. But you know, again, I think we've worked very well with the planning department and are very appreciative of the effort that they have done to help us through this process as well. So.
Lauren, Janetta, you guys haven't really had anything to say on here. Do you have any questions?
No, I remember the seeing the case before as well, so I was very familiar with it.
Okay. Unless anybody else has anything else, any other questions or discussion, I'm going to ask for a motion. One's been prepared for you kindly that you could use as a framework in the back if you choose to support it or against it.
Okay, Commissioner Stebbins would like to make a motion to approve variance 21, 22, 25 by Sylvester Empowerment Village to increase the maximum lot coverage requirement from 50 to 75%. It complies with standard 1 based on the facts that the existing standard would unreasonably prevent the owner from using the property to its highest potential. It complies with standard 2 based on the fact that it is the minimum variance necessary to provide adequate relief. It complies with standard 3 based on the fact that the size of the property in relation to the size of the existing structure on the site renders the variance necessary. It complies with standard 4 based on the fact that the zoning ordinance unreasonably restricts the property from being used to its fullest potential, which is not a hardship created by the property owner or the previous property owners, but was created by the city. It also complies with standard 5 based on the fact that the variance requested by the applicant meets the spirit of the ordinance by providing the adequate space to use the property for its highest use.
Thank you. Do we have a support for that motion?
This is Commissioner Key. I will support the motion based upon a correction. It is approved of variance 21-2251, not
Okay.
25, okay?
Oh, sorry. 21-2251.
That's a friendly amendment.
Right.
Thank you.
Commissioner Telga, as a point of order, we're being recorded on Otter Live and YouTube. I just want to make sure that I heard it clear that it was lot coverage requirements from 50 to 57%. Is that what?
Yes,
what
I
was
said
said?
50 to 57%.
Thank you. That's not what I thought I heard. I wanted to make sure that was clear. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, we have a motion. We have a friendly amendment, which has been accepted and support. Do we have any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask staff for a roll call.
Commissioner Stebbins,
Support.
Commissioner Hardy,
Yes.
Commissioner McCaskill,
Support.
Commissioner Yelly,
Support.
Commissioner Jordan, Commissioner Key,
I support.
Commissioner Ricks,
Yes.
Commissioner Telga,
Yes, I approve it.
Commissioner Coney,
Support.
Commissioner Blauer.
Yes.
That's all for roll call. Commissioner
What's,
Talga.
what's our vote? 8-1 or 8-0? 9-0.
9-0.
Yeah, it approves. Motion is approved. Congratulations, applicant.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your
Good
help.
luck with your project. Do good things.
Okay,
Good luck.
thank you.
We're going to move next to the city attorney report. And Kelly, can you give us some updates on the zoning ordinances and then bring the staff up to, or the board up to date on the marijuana ordinance that has passed?
Yes, Mr. Chair. So good evening again, commissioners. As to the marijuana ordinance or marijuana ordinances, plural, all three were adopted by City Council on February 8th. So 5183 was adopted, or the amendment to that, I should say. 12-95, the amended version was adopted. And then I affectionately refer to them as 5161 through 5169. Those were adopted. And specifically, it's 5161, 5163, 5164, and 5169. So all the amendments reflecting the expansion to include adult use and micro businesses, those were all adopted. And I emailed the final versions to the chair earlier today. However, Jeffrey Schiffman, who recently joined the planning department, he caught a discrepancy regarding the zoning designations. So we're looking at that very closely. We might need to go back to council for another amendment. So
An oversight?
well, something like that. I mean, we
That's
were
okay.
calling, I spoke to Reed Erickson today about it. I think they called Andy Amott to try and get an understanding of where this issue first arose. And I think it was just a product of having different drafts floating out there and so many amendments that were being made. So we're just trying to get all of that figured out. And so I didn't want to disseminate these ordinances to the commission yet, because I'm trying to avoid that issue from happening again and compounding the issue with so many versions floating out there. So as soon as we have clarification on what the final ordinances will be, I will happily make that available to all of the commissioners. But again, we're just trying to clarify that point. So that is the update for the marijuana ordinances. And ultimately, I think that having those adopted, that's obviously a big step in the right direction. So we're not operating under an emergency ordinance anymore. And then as to the zoning code, there are a total of 18 articles, and we are bringing them in installments of 6 at a time. And council passed the first 6 articles for a first reading at, I think that was also on the 8th, but one of their meetings. So it's past the first reading. And I believe council wants to discuss it further in their committee meetings. So that'll take place next. And so as I told the commission at our last meeting, we're projecting that the full zoning code will be adopted sometime this summer. That's what we're hoping for. And I think we're on track for that. And if there are
Anybody have any questions for Kelly?
Yeah.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thank
Anybody
you,
have
Mr.
any
Chair.
questions for Kelly? We'll move on to old business. And under old business, Bill has already addressed the roster. Kelly addressed the ordinances under her report. Is there anything else I'm overlooking?
Commissioner Talga, Bill Vandercook. I left
Hi,
the
Bill.
training off there that we wanted to maybe
Yes,
talk
thank
about.
you.
Yeah, Bill, that's what I wanted to bring up.
Okay.
So I brought up the question that came up last time. I brought that up to Suzanne to see what she had in mind. I do know that we have some credits from the Michigan Association of Planning, and they do have 2 planning and zoning essential workshops next month. There's 2 on the 3rd and the 4th that are in the evening. And there are 2 on the 23rd and the 24th that are in the afternoon. Unfortunately, the credits that we have only provide for 2 people to attend. So it's a $75 fee for the training, but we have $150 in credits. So those are available. But if we want to do a broader training, I think it's probably going to be more of a discussion and presentation by staff or Corey. And
Are
those.
you saying that if there's more than 2 people interested, that it will cost $75 per person?
Yes, that's the member fee, and I'm pretty certain that we can get anyone that wants to attend the member fee because the city is a member of the association.
Right.
We do have enough credit that we could send 2 people.
So we have credit for 2, but we certainly could pay for additional people if they wanted to, correct?
That I'm not sure whether we have the funds to pay for additional people or not. I have to go back and check.
Oh, come on now. $75 a person? Come on.
You would think, but I haven't been here that long, but I'm often surprised.
And I wouldn't ask you to speak for the director either. All right. Well, first of all, do we have anybody that's interested in any of these?
I've attended those already.
Oh, good. Great. Thank you. I want to find out what it is. I think I might be interested if it's new information for me. I probably want to see.
To send you the information that I've
Yes,
got.
that's what I was going to ask. Anybody else?
Yes,
Commissioner
please send me
Yali.
that information also.
Okay, John?
Yes.
Anybody else?
Commissioner Coney, I would,
Sorry.
Lauren?
yes, I'd be interested as well.
Commissioner Yelly wants to go.
All right. So I've got John, myself, Lauren Coney, and Commissioner Yelly, who yelling at us. No, you're good. Anybody else?
I'd like to go as well, I think.
All right. Can you send that out to everybody? And then if there's more than 2 people after they review it, we'll address it with Suzanne, I guess.
Yeah, I'll send out the information and I'll bring it up. I'm supposed to.
And I'm just going to go right on record. I'd be extremely disappointed if we can't find the funding.
Yep.
Commissioner, Mr. Chairman, question I have is, what is it exactly we talking about? Sending out information or attending a training session?
Exactly. Training session by the American Planning Association, Michigan chapter on zoning. The details, but I don't know, and that's where they're going to send us.
Okay, because I don't know, it seems like if one of the 2 members of the planning commission attend that training and brought the material back and did a presentation type overview with us as a whole, that would be a more effective and efficient way of doing it than spending $75 a person to go to training. But I mean,
I don't know if I agree with you on
whatever.
that, Jerry. I understand what you're saying, but first of all, I don't think that's very much funds. And second of all, I wouldn't ask anybody to have to do that. To be incumbent on having to come back presented is contingent on them attending. Let's send it out and let's see how many people are interested. And then we'll discuss with staff and I'll discuss with you too, Jerry. Does that sound good?
Sounds good to me. I'm okay with that.
Okay. Anybody else?
Commissioner Tugg, I don't want to go, but Commissioner McCaskill had a lot of good ideas about content of training materials before. And I just think we should go back to that, take a look at that. Besides this training session that Jeff's bringing up, seeing what would be pertinent for the commissioners and trying to have that material together for the next meeting that we have.
Okay.
And Commissioner McCaskill, could I ask you for support to review that material, maybe get with Corey Christensen and try to get the materials together that you recommended?
You owe me lunch when we can go back and dine.
All right.
Sure, I don't buy.
Yeah, I owe Commissioner Key lunch too, so
we'll all go together. Yeah.
If anybody's interested, I did find in cleaning out the office that Bill's moving into, I found the guidebook for ZBA that's probably 25 years old. It's it's a pamphlet on yellowed paper. It's so old.
I think the materials that Commissioner McCaskill had pointed out before would be very appropriate, you know, and appreciated. So I just remember the content that was in there. Just haven't had time to work with him to put that together. So
one of the staff, it sounds like we may have more than 2 people that are interested, maybe up to 5 or 6. Can you go back to Suzanne? I can't believe that you can't find $75 a person. I've been disappointed with the training that we've had or opportunities towards it. In another life, I was fortunate enough to serve on the city council of a smaller municipality in Genesee County, served 4 years on the zoning board of appeals. And we had training available to us whenever we wanted, and we're supported for it. And we're encouraged to take as much training as we wanted through both the American Planning Association Michigan chapter and the Michigan Municipal League. And the Michigan Municipal League does a very nice job too. And the city's a member of MML also. So
yeah, I looked on MML. I didn't actually see any training sessions.
Okay.
But I have no idea. I also looked on Planet Zen.
Right.
They didn't
Right.
have anything either.
So I'd ask you to go back since we may have 5 or 6 people interested. I can't believe that we can't find this, or do we need to go to our council people or several members here are friends with and acquainted with the mayor? We asked the mayor for the funding. I mean, it's got to be somewhere in the city.
Commissioner Talga, I've come to learn that our new lead planner is very good at, you know, asking for things. So I'm sure Suzanne will, you know.
Okay.
Will step up.
Not the way I understood it, so I apologize if that's the case.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? Anybody else?
I put a hyperlink in. That's kind of that's what gives us power as a board, as a committee. And for all that don't know Michigan Act 110, they probably should look at it. And then that'll be a good foundational piece for all the other stuff.
Sorry, you're cut out.
It's probably because I'm eating. Can you hear me now?
I can. Can you say that again, please?
I put a hyperlink for Michigan Act 110, which is what gives our board authority to grant variances on zoning and ordinances. So if you don't have any contextual understanding, it's a good foundational piece for this, and then you can build upon that.
Ari, can I ask a Luddite question? I see where you put the hyperlink on. Though, am I going to have access to this once we leave this call?
You probably want to cut and paste it. So you can access it.
Yep.
And Bill, you correct me. I don't know if 2006 is the most updated, but I believe it is.
I honestly don't know, Commissioner McCaskill, so I can check that out tomorrow.
Thanks, Keezy. Appreciate it. She put the PDF in the so you can download it to your laptop, to your computer.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else before we end this meeting? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Commissioner McCaskill.
Do I have support?
Support.
Thanks everybody for a great meeting. We've grown a lot. We're doing a great job here, doing great business to the city, and I'm proud of us. With that, a motion to adjourn has been made. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. This meeting is adjourned at 6:59. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Stay safe, everyone.
Thank
You too. Stay warm.
Good night.
All right.